In the upcoming federal election, the housing crisis in Australia promises to be one of the major issues at play. Both major parties have come up with a bunch of policies to help fix the housing crisis. But these policies might actually make affordability in Australia even worse and send property prices soaring. So then what does that mean for the average Australian investor? I've spent hours going through policy papers and expert forecasts to break this down in the simplest way possible. So today, I'm going to outline what the upcoming federal election actually means for property investors and where the real opportunities are. Let's begin by looking at what could actually change if the Labor Party is re-elected to government and what's actually hot air and not going to affect anything. First of all, first home buyers. It's going to be easier for them to get their first home because now almost any first home buyer can get their first home for as little as a 5% deposit and no loan mortgage insurance. Let's unpack some of the details behind that scheme. Number one, no limits on income. The first home buyer scheme used to be, means tested. That's no longer the case. So whatever your income is, if you're a first home buyer, you can now qualify. Number two, the first home buyer scheme used to have a limit to the number of people who would be accepted into this program. That limit has been taken off. So there will be no more limits now on the number of potential first home buyers who can apply for and be accepted into this scheme. Number three, the price limit on property has been increased for all the states and territories around Australia, except for poor Northern Territory. In New South Wales, for example, a first home buyer can buy a property up to $1.5 million. Now, in Sydney, unfortunately, it will still be a challenge to buy a freestanding home for $1.5 million, but townhouses, apartments, all very, very doable for first home buyers under $1.5 million. But what about major regional centres like Newcastle, potentially Dubbo? First home buyers can very easily get a first home there for under $1.5 million. So what do you think is going to happen to property prices, especially in areas where there's going to be strong demand from first home buyers and prices are below this $1.5 million? Well, we already have a property shortage, which is actually bigger in many of our major regional centres in New South Wales. So now you've got more demand. That's going to send property prices soaring. You're going to see the same thing in other states as well. In any area where there's going to be demand from first home buyers, often because there's strong potential for jobs growth and amenities for young families like good schools, etc., and where property prices are currently well below these price limits, expect to see massive demand from first home buyers. There's already an existing shortage, and that will just drive prices higher in multiple areas around the country. The federal government is also saying they're going to invest $10 billion in building 100,000 new homes only for first home buyers. Now, that sounds great until you do the maths. If you divide $10 billion by 100,000 new homes, that only allows $100,000 to build each new property. Where can you build a new property for $100,000? This scheme is so unrealistic and it's going to do virtually nothing for supply. So if you look at what the federal Labor Party is promising, all of their focus is on improving demand. It's like a sugar hit. It will help people initially. It's a short-term hit, but the long-term consequences, property prices will rise in multiple areas. By the way, I know that investing through elections and changing of governments and changing of policies can be difficult. I've been through like 5 or 6 of these things. So if you want to know how I built a property portfolio that can withstand governments continually changing policies, politicians changing and breaking promises, and actually how you can take advantage of what governments do, check out the link in the description below to get totally for free the digital version and audio version of my book. Then let's have a look at what the Liberal Party have to say about how they're going to fix the housing crisis. First of all, they're going to boost supply by unlocking up to 500,000 new homes by investing in essential infrastructure. Okay, that sounds great, But how long do you think it will take to build 500,000 new homes? It's not going to happen next year or two. This is a 20-year problem in terms of how long it'll take to fix it, if ever. And so this sort of promise, I think, is hot air. It's really not going to do much to fix the housing crisis because we already have a shortage of nearly 300,000 homes in Australia. If it takes, say, 20 years to build another 500,000 homes, who knows how big our shortage will be by that time. The Liberal Party is also saying they're going to set a target of 400,000 apprentices and trainees in training and then freeze any further changes to the National Construction Code for 10 years. Look, that all might sound good, but its impact on fixing the housing crisis, absolutely zero in my opinion. Then they're going to ease the demand for housing, and how they're going to do that is they're going to implement a 2-year ban on foreign investors and temporary residents purchasing existing homes. Now again, that might sound great, but if you look at the number of transactions last financial year, the number of properties bought by overseas investors, it was a measly 1%. That's it. So this scheme again is great in terms of potentially going out there and playing politics, but its impact on property prices, zero. The Liberal Party is also going to reduce migration from 185,000 to 140,000 for 2 years, then going to increase it to 150,000 in year 3 and 160,000 in year 4. By rebalancing the migration program, the coalition says they will free up almost 40,000 additional homes in the first year and over 100,000 in 5 years. 40,000 additional homes might sound great, but as I said earlier on, we already have a shortage of 300,000 properties in this country. So this is going to do very little to the property market. And when you consider what I'm about to say, it's really only going to see property prices keep rising. First home buyers who buy a new house or apartment as their principal place of residence will be able to deduct the interest paid on the first $650,000 of their mortgage. There's no cap on the mortgage size or home price. Individuals earning up to $175,000 and joint buyers with a combined income of up to $250,000 will qualify. Now, we've never seen anything like this in Australia. In America, these sorts of schemes have existed. So what's the aim behind this scheme? Well, by allowing first home buyers to claim up to $650,000 of their mortgage as a tax deduction, they will get a tax rebate at the end of the financial year when they do their tax returns. And this is up to the first 5 years after they buy their property. And the aim, therefore, is that it will make it more affordable for first home buyers to take out a loan on their mortgage. But when you allow first home buyers to more easily take on more debt, and that's really what this tax rebate will allow them to do, it only increases demand because more people can get into the property market at current prices. And when you have more people jumping into the property market, property prices are going to rise. By allowing this scheme to only be applicable to new homes, you won't see this force property prices as high as some of the Labor Party schemes. The Liberal Party is also expanding their first home guarantee scheme, increasing the price gaps to essentially match what the Labor Party is offering. The other major scheme the Liberal Party has announced is they're going to allow first home buyers to take out up to $50,000 from their super and put it into property. Now, that means that people overnight will have an extra $50,000 to put towards their first home. What do you think that's going to do for property prices? It's going to increase demand, increasing therefore property prices. So hopefully you can see that whichever party wins government, their policies will force property prices higher. And that sort of makes sense, right? Because no party wants to be the party that says, we were in government when property prices fell. That isn't so good for their re-election prospects. So whatever their policies are, they are simply really increasing demand from mainly first home buyers where there's already a shortage of properties in this country. And whenever you have increased demand over supply, especially in areas where it's more affordable for people to buy their first home, those areas will rise substantially. So as an investor, The sooner you can buy in those types of areas, the more your gain is likely to be. Now, if you're not sure how to work that out, then like I said earlier on, check out the link in the description below to get totally for free the audio version and digital version of my book, where I walk you through how to work out the best areas to buy in based on high demand over supply.